Hi, I'm Adam Porter. I'm a game designer and game player, and I also run a YouTube vlog called Adam's Boardgame Wales, which some of you probably watch if you found this video. This video is specifically about my approaches to publishers during the Essen Spiel convention in October 2016. Now, I've attended the convention 3 times previously. The first time just as a consumer, just buying games. The second time and third time pitching to publishers, and as a result I do have 2 games which are coming up over the next year, signed with different publishers. Now, the approach this year was to take 3 more games and see if I can get those ones also sort of signed with publishers. And so some of the publishers that I meet will be new publishers that I haven't met before, others are ones that I've met previously. Anyway, this video looks at how I got on during that convention on a sort of day-to-day sort of level. Okay, so the videos that you're going to see might be a little bit grainy. I'm losing my voice a little bit in some of them because they're shot in hotel rooms, largely first thing in the morning, just after breakfast. So I apologise for the quality of the videos, but hopefully the content has something there that will interest you. Now, I've brought 3 games with me this year, and I've got many meetings lined up over the next few days, 20 or something like that. I'm sure I'll pick up a few more. Yesterday on the train coming into Essen, I met a publisher. In fact, I met 3 people from his company, and we had a good long conversation about what their company was like and what they're doing and all that sort of stuff, which was great. And Essen's fantastic like that. You do just run into people and end up having these conversations, particularly if you're travelling alone, as I am. You do end up talking to strangers quite a lot, and some of these people turn out to be in the industry, obviously. So that was great. I've got 4 meetings lined up today, and as I say, many more over the coming days, and I'm sure I'll pick up a few more as I go around and speak to the different individuals on the different booths. It's now the morning of day 2 of the Spiel Fair at Essen, and yesterday I had several meetings. I had my 4 planned meetings, and I managed to speak to a couple of other publishers as well throughout the day. Before we go into that and what I'm doing today, I just thought I'd show you quickly what I'm sort of dragging around with me at the fair. So this is my big sort of wheelie suitcase that I drag around, knocking over, running over people's ankles and cutting off their toes. And it's full of prototypes. I tend to only pack enough prototypes for the day. I've got far more prototypes than this with me in Essen, but it's quite a heavy sort of thing to be carting around all day, and you end up thinking, oh God, I hope somebody takes these away, so that you can just get rid of them, because they're quite bulky sort of things. These prototypes in a sort of they're a magnetic case that I got off the Tiny Box company online, nice and cheap, as sort of damaged stock. But I tend to try and make the prototypes look as nice as I can, because publishers seem to quite like this approach. It tends to make you stand out, and they often comment on it. These are all prototypes as well, these pencil cases for a party game of mine, and a bottle of water in there, essential. So yesterday I started the day with a meeting with quite a large publisher, I would say quite an important sort of publisher, and I was delighted to actually get a meeting there. I hadn't had a meeting with this company before, and it was all done through a translator, which was quite sort of quite nice in a way. They were both the translator and the guy that I was chatting to. They were both very, very friendly, and it was an enjoyable meeting, and they were positive and enthusiastic. I guess it was very early on the first day of the fair, so they still had a lot of energy. So it was a fun meeting. I think it was promising, and hopefully, even if they're not interested in the games themselves, I think they have a lot of contacts and maybe other people that they can speak to who may be. So that was very, very good. And then moved on to another meeting this time with a much smaller publisher, people who are just starting out really, but people with a lot of experience in the industry, and I think it was a really sort of positive meeting, this time on sat on the floor in one of the hallways because there wasn't room around their booth. As I say, they're starting out really, so they don't have this massive booth, but very enthusiastic, very positive about the game. And there's something really nice about the idea of working with people from the sort of starting at the ground floor, developing the game as the company develops as well, and going with them. Of course, that takes a lot of trust that they're gonna turn out to be a company that that has the experience and the necessary sort of qualities to make themselves into a large quality company. But I have a very good feeling about them. I think they're going to do good things. So that was a very positive meeting. The third meeting was again with a large company that's been around for a few years now. Fantastic sort of quality components and all that sort of thing. So a company that they would turn your game into something that looked amazing and would really sort of be very attractive. So again, really positive meeting. This time I got to play through a whole game of my game City Rollers, which is nice, and you don't get that in every meeting. In some meetings you don't get to play at all because there isn't the time or there isn't the space, but here we played a entire game, and again the response was positive. I think there was some reservation in that meeting. I'm trying to remember what exactly it was that was the sort of slight reservation about the game. I can't remember. It's obviously water off a duck's back when people give me constructive criticism. It was certainly constructive, whatever this person said. But I honestly can't remember. I spoke to so many people. And then I went on to another meeting. This time it was this company were very much sort of that they wanted something almost like a gimmick with a game. Their selling point was our games come with something very noticeable. You put it out on the table, you see it. It is essentially a toy within the game, but it makes them stand out from the other companies. And so although he liked my game very much, he wasn't sure because it didn't quite have that sort of gimmick in it, which I thought was really open and honest of him, and nice to see how these companies sort of view these things, and also gives you something to aim for when you approach the company in the future. He also made a comment about my game being very suitable for French publishers, which I thought was interesting as well. I asked him to elaborate on that a little bit, because I guess you think of European publishers and American publishers and the differences between the two, but actually even within Europe there's lots of differences between those different countries and the different publishers. But within one country the publishers might take a common sort of approach, and I think he thought the French approach was a sort of really stripped back, very simple, very streamlined mechanisms, perhaps with some deeper strategies within the game, but fairly stark sort of look to the game with some nice pictures on some cards and things like that, but essentially simple gameplay to pick up for family sort of a family audience, but with some deeper strategies within. So that was nice, that was interesting to know about. And then I went on and met with a party game company to show them my party game. This was a bit more of an off the cuff sort of meeting. We played the game, again positive response. It was fun, it was a funny meeting. And who knows what will happen with that one. On the evening of day one, I went to a hotel in the centre of Essen and met with the Playtest UK group. So this is basically all the UK designers all gathered together in this one hotel to play each other's prototypes. I must admit I couldn't bring myself to play any prototypes. My head really was I was totally wiped out by the day, and the idea of showing someone else one of my prototypes at that point and having it torn apart, no, you can't do it. You can't have your game torn apart and then show it to a publisher and go, oh yeah, this is a great game. So it's I find that the playtest on that first night, which has become a bit of a tradition here, I can only really treat it as a sort of social event, which is lovely because I do get to see loads of people, and I met loads of people last night that I'd spoken to on Twitter and that sort of thing. So it was a lovely evening, but playing prototypes is not really, just not quite in the right headspace for that at this point in the fair. So that was day one. Today I have, let me look at my list, 6 meetings today, so it's a slightly busier day today. So it's the morning of day 3 at Essen, which means I've had 2 full days of meetings now, and the tiredness is starting to kick in. Aside from anything else, the adrenaline of all these meetings and running around and excitement of positive responses and disappointments means that I don't get much sleep at night. But anyway, yesterday I had a bunch more meetings. I had a meeting with a small publisher whose mind really wasn't on it, I don't think. I had a meeting with a publisher I've met several times in the past. Generalizations about what different nationalities want sort of come into these discussions. I really shouldn't sort of talk in generalized terms. I'm not going to say them, because as soon as I start to say, this country wants this sort of game, I'll get people saying, well, that's not the case, I don't want that. But certainly that's how the publishers talk. They tell you, you should be showing this game to a French publisher, or you should be showing this game to an Italian publisher, or this is definitely a game for the American market. I'm sure those marketplaces are different. But it's something I think I need to bear in mind a little bit more in the future, is what exactly is the market for this game. Not just in terms of the weight of the game, but also in terms of the gameplay and the sort of things those markets might potentially want. I had a very positive meeting with an American publisher for City Rollers, so we'll see what happens with that. I had a disappointing meeting, a very pleasant meeting, very friendly meeting, but company I really like very much, and I designed a game which I thought would fit very well. But they have very, very specific ideas about what they want, and it's not enough for the game to be good. I think they thought both the games that I showed them were good, but they really have to fit their line and exactly what they're looking for. It does seem to me at this point that every company appears to be searching for, well, it's not quite true, but a lot of the companies seem to be searching for the next Dobble or Spot It, which obviously sold millions of copies, and the main reason being that you don't have to explain any rules. You stick it on display, a demo table in a shop. The shop assistant's going to explain that in a second, and it's going to be an instant buy. Cheap components, cheap to make, and it sells an absolute ton of copies. So every company seems to be looking for that. And actually at the fair, you're finding that every stand you go to seems to have some sort of Dobble replica, but not as good. So I think that's what everyone's searching for. That's the holy grail at the moment, is a new Dobble game. Certainly with the companies that I'm dealing with, which tend to be the lighter family weight sort of companies. What else did I see yesterday? Let's have a look. More sort of old friends, more people that I've met several times in the past. I discovered Klaus Teuber was a dental technician before he became a game designer. So that was interesting. Maybe it's not that interesting, I don't know. I met with a German publisher and had a very serious sort of talk about City Rollers. I couldn't read it, I couldn't tell what that one was like. So that was it. Quite a lot of meetings yesterday. Got a lot more today. So today, what have I got? I think that's a Italian, Belgian, German, Japanese, and Latvian publishers today. Oh, and another German publisher. So I've got quite a lot of... I'm ticking off all the different nationalities as I go around this fair, which is a lovely thing, actually, to be talking to all these different people from different countries. So that's how it's going so far. It's up and down as usual, but we'll see what happens today. Day 3 of the Essen Fair. I've lost my voice a little bit this morning, although I'm not unwell. All the speaking in that sort of very oppressive sort of atmosphere of the Essen Fair seems to have taken its toll, and I've got a lot more meetings today to get through, so I'll keep this short. But yesterday the day started with a meeting with a small new company, and I found it really nice and refreshing talking to them, because you realise that they're learning about the industry at the same time that you are. And so it felt much more like an equal footing, like we were learning from each other, which was great. The second meeting was with a much more established, large European company. And he was very positive about all three of my prototypes. In fact, he took all three away, and he said it's the first time he's ever done that, taken all the prototypes from one designer, and that he very rarely takes prototypes at all. So I hear this quite a lot from publishers, is this sort of thing about, I very rarely take prototypes, but I'm taking yours, and it doesn't necessarily lead to contracts, I've found in the past. So although I'm very excited about that and very delighted that he was impressed, I know that you can fall at later hurdles down the testing process. But that was wonderful. It was a really good meeting. Next meeting, when I arrived, the person that I was meeting wasn't available. They were still in another meeting, and so actually that one got cancelled, which was a shame, although I managed to catch up with that person later and had another chat and showed them a game which they liked. At this point, I'm running out of prototypes to give out, and so when people say they want a prototype, I just don't have one, unfortunately, so it means I'm going to have to send them out after the fair. Now, of course, making these prototypes takes me several hours each one. For one of the games particularly, probably takes me 3 hours or so to make a prototype, and I've got at least 5 to make when I get home and send out to various parts of the world, so that's going to be an expensive and time-consuming process. And of course the ones that I'm sending them out to tend to be the ones that were less enthusiastic. They say, yeah, I'll take a prototype, I'll have a look, and so you sort of think, I'm going to be taking a lot of time and money making this. I really hope it does get a decent look. I had a meeting then. I returned to a meeting that I'd seen a guy the previous day about a sort of strategy game, and at the end I'd mentioned I had a party game as well. He didn't have time to look at it then, and his company doesn't make party games, but he said, I want to see your party game because I talked to other publishers and they're looking for party games, and I would like a party game I can take and show them and play with them. So I met with him, showed him my party game, and he really liked it. He was very excited about it, took it away, said he was going to play it that evening with this other company. So that's very good, and it's a very big company as well. So excited about that one, definitely. I then met with a small Asian publisher, which was exciting. It's the first time I've met with an Asian publisher, and it was nice. They were sort of very humble. They were sort of, well, why are you showing it to us? Why are you not showing it to these other big guys? And I thought, well, I like their company. I've got lots of their games. I like their brand, and I like the idea of my game being in all these different countries, or my games being in different countries. So it was a nice meeting. I hope something comes of that one. They seem to like the game. I then went back to Brain Games, who are publishing my game next year, and so I got an update on Ruffling Feathers, which is coming out next year. We played some of my games. They're going to take a prototype for one of them to have a look at, so that's good. And then finished the day with a meeting with a Greek publisher, which was nice. Very brief meeting. I'd only arranged it that day, so he didn't have much time, but we talked very briefly about who I was and what I had, and it was very positive. Really good first contact. So it was a very good day. Lots of good stuff going on. All 3 games now have some people excited about them. I think 1 or 2 of them have better chances than the third. But I mean, one thing that I saw in the difference between different publishers, speaking to one of the publishers who was very enthusiastic about the game, he was talking about changes that he would make to the game, and they were quite fundamental changes. But I quite liked it because he was talking about them. They were very sensible changes, and he was talking about them in a really positive way. So it wasn't like, this is a problem and you need to solve it. It was a case of him saying, well, I think this game would be improved by doing this, this and this, but it certainly sounded like that was a possibility, and like maybe he was interested in going into some development and collaboration with me on that. And I really liked that. Of course, there's a lot that I can learn from these guys, and I would much rather they did that. They told me, we'd like to change this, this and this, what do you think, and talk to me about it, than just sort of say, well, either the product is ready or it isn't, or shut me out of the process altogether. So I thought that was a positive thing. Today, how many meetings have I got? Let's have a look at my list. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 meetings today. It's the final day of the fair. So this is going to be a long day. There's not going to be any time for shopping, as if I had any money left anyway, or space in my suitcases. That ship has sailed. My suitcase is full and my money is depleted. But I'll be in meetings all day anyway. So final day, final push, and I'll let you know how I got on. It's now 1 week since Essen finished, and I'm back home in Wales. And I never did a final sort of a final entry into my vlog about that final day of pitching to publishers on the Sunday. I think you could see on the Saturday how exhausted I was and how I was losing my voice as a result of the tiring process of going through all those meetings. On the Sunday, I had, how many? Let me have a look at my sheet here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 meetings on the Sunday. A lot of those were with old people that I've met previously, old contacts, the people who I'm getting to know now over the years. Had a really nice update on my game that's coming up with Blue Orange. That was great to hear about exactly how that's going to be. It's coming out next June, hopefully. I now know, who the artist is and some of the rules changes. I'm not quite sure of what the name of the game will be yet, but that's quite exciting. It's really, really good to hear. Even things like what size the box is going to be. I find that exciting. And I met with a few other people who I'd met with previously to show them my new prototypes. I also met with a couple of new companies, which was great. And the day concluded with a meeting with a company where we just had loads of fun. We played my party game, and we laughed a lot. He got several of his colleagues in, and this was right at the end of the Sunday, so it was a really, really nice finish to the whole thing. I was absolutely exhausted then, and as I say, I didn't make a video entry at that point, which is why I'm making it a week on. Now, a week on, I've had some email contact with some of these publishers. We're certainly not at the point of sort of decision making yet, but things are looking promising for all 3 games, actually. I'm really hopeful for all 3 of them at this point. It would be great if 2 or 3 of these get signed, in addition to the 2 that I've got coming up next year. So I could then look forward to them coming out, presumably the year after. So all's looking good. It was a fantastic trip to Essen, not to mention all the shopping that I did and all the stuff that I brought back in my packed suitcase, which I'll be showing in other vlogs, so we don't need to bang on about that too much here. So anyway, I hope you found this interesting. Thank you very much for watching. All the best.